You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And self-management is the system that determines everything. It's the invisible force behind success, the quiet discipline that no one sees, but everyone feels in the results. Most people wait for motivation. They wait to feel ready, inspired, or energized. But the truth is, those feelings are unreliable. They come and go. What stays is your ability to manage yourself when you don't feel like it. Self-management is waking up and choosing growth when comfort is easier. It's doing the work when no one is watching. It's holding yourself accountable even when there are no consequences from the outside. Because the real battle is not out there, it's within you. It's the voice that says later. It's the habit of distraction. It's the comfort of staying the same. And every time you choose discipline over distraction, you win. Not a loud, visible victory, but a quiet one that builds your identity. You start to see yourself differently. You start to trust yourself more. You start to become someone who follows through. And that changes everything. Because once you trust yourself, you stop needing constant motivation. You stop negotiating with your goals. You simply act. Self-management is also about awareness. Knowing where your time goes. Knowing what drains your energy. Knowing what truly matters. Without awareness, you're just reacting. But with awareness, you take control. You design your day instead of letting your day design you. And here's the truth most people avoid. Self-management is not easy. It requires sacrifice. It requires saying no to things that feel good in the moment but cost you in the long run. But every no to distraction is a yes to your future. Every moment of discipline compounds, it builds momentum, and that momentum turns small actions into massive results over time. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. You just need to take control of the next decision, then the next, then the next. That's how transformation happens, not in one big moment, but in thousands of small ones. So don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for motivation to strike. Start where you are with what you have, because the moment you take control of yourself, you take control of your life. People who connect their goals to a clear purpose are far more likely to stay committed, push through setbacks, and achieve long-term success compared to those driven only by external rewards. Everything begins with a reason. And yet most people skip this step entirely, rushing into action without ever asking themselves why it truly matters. They chase goals that look impressive on the outside but feel empty on the inside. And when things get difficult, they lose direction because there was never a deep foundation holding them steady. When your actions are not connected to something meaningful, discipline feels heavy, effort feels forced, and quitting becomes easy. But when you start with your why, everything changes. Your why is not just a statement, it is the emotional engine behind your behavior, the force that keeps you moving when motivation disappears. It gives your actions weight, it turns small steps into meaningful progress, and it transforms struggle into something worth enduring. Clarity of purpose creates a different kind of energy, one that does not depend on mood or circumstances. When you know why you are doing something, you no longer rely on fleeting inspiration. You act because it matters to you on a deeper level. This is the difference between people who stop when it gets hard and those who keep going regardless of how they feel. The ones who persist are not necessarily more talented or more disciplined by nature. They are simply more connected to their reason. Their why becomes their anchor in chaos, their guide in uncertainty, and their strength in moments of doubt. Without a strong why, distractions become more powerful. Every obstacle feels like a valid excuse to step back, every delay feels justified, and every comfort becomes more appealing than the effort required to grow. But when your why is clear, distractions lose their grip. You begin to see choices differently. You start asking yourself whether your actions are aligned with your purpose or pulling you away from it. This awareness creates a quiet discipline, one that does not rely on pressure but on alignment. You are no longer forcing yourself to act. You are choosing to act because it reflects who you are becoming. Your why also shapes your identity. It defines what you stand for and what you are willing to endure. When your purpose is strong enough, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop looking for shortcuts and start embracing the process. You understand that growth takes time, that progress is not always visible, and that setbacks are part of the journey rather than signs to quit. This mindset builds resilience because your actions are no longer tied to immediate results but to a deeper commitment. Most people focus on what they want and how they will get it, but very few spend time understanding why it matters in the first place. That is why they struggle to stay consistent. When the excitement fades, they have nothing left to hold on to. But when your why is clear, it stays with you even in silence, even in difficulty, even in moments when progress feels slow. It becomes a constant reminder of what you are working toward and why it is worth the effort. Starting with your why is not about finding a perfect perfect answer. It is about being honest with yourself. It is about digging deeper than surface-level desires and connecting with something real, something that resonates beyond temporary motivation. When you build your actions on that foundation, you create a level of focus and determination that cannot be easily shaken, and that is where real self-management begins. Individuals who practice daily discipline and personal accountability consistently outperform those who rely on motivation alone, building stronger habits, greater resilience, and higher long-term achievement across every area of life. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, something rigid and uncomfortable, something that takes freedom away, but in reality, it is the highest form of self-leadership. It is the ability to guide your own actions regardless of how you feel in the moment. It is choosing what matters most over what feels easiest. When you lead yourself with discipline, you stop being controlled by impulses, distractions, and temporary emotions, and you begin to act with intention and clarity. This is where real power begins, not in controlling others, but in controlling yourself. Most people wait for motivation to show up before they take action. But motivation is unpredictable. It rises and falls. It depends on mood, energy, and external circumstances. Discipline does not wait. Discipline shows up even when you are tired, even when you are distracted, even when you would rather do anything else. That is what makes it powerful. It removes the uncertainty from your actions and replaces it with consistency. And consistency is what creates results that last. When you practice discipline, you are building trust with yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it is difficult, you strengthen that trust. Over time, this trust becomes part of your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who keeps commitments, someone who does not break under pressure. This internal reputation is more valuable than any external validation because it shapes how you approach every challenge in your life. Self-leadership means taking full responsibility for your actions, your choices, and your outcomes. It means no longer blaming circumstances, other people, or lack of opportunity. Discipline is the tool that allows you to take that responsibility and act on it. It keeps you focused when distractions are everywhere, keeps you moving when progress feels slow, it keeps you aligned with your goals even when the path becomes uncomfortable. There is a moment in every challenge where quitting feels easier than continuing. It is in that moment that discipline defines you, not when things are easy, not when everything is going your way, but when you are tested. Discipline is what carries you through those moments. It is the quiet decision to keep going, to stay committed, to push forward even when there is no immediate reward. This is where growth happens, in the space where comfort ends and effort begins. Discipline also creates freedom, not the kind that allows you to do anything at any time, but the kind that allows you to become who you truly want to be. When you manage your time, your habits, and your focus with discipline, you create space for meaningful progress. You eliminate wasted energy on things that do not matter, and you invest it in things that do. This is how you move from being reactive to being intentional, from drifting through life to directing it. The truth is, no one else can lead your life for you. No one else can make the decisions, take the actions, or build the habits that shape your future. That responsibility belongs to you, and discipline is how you carry it. It is not about being perfect, it is about being consistent. It is not about never failing, it is about continuing despite failure. It is not about forcing yourself endlessly, it is about aligning your actions with your values and following through. Every small act of discipline matters. Every time you choose focus over distraction, effort over comfort, and commitment over convenience, you are strengthening your ability to lead yourself. These moments may seem small, but they accumulate. They build momentum, they shape your character, and over time they define the direction of your life. Discipline is not something you have or do not have. It is something you practice daily, something you reinforce with every decision you make, something that grows stronger the more you use it, until it becomes a natural part of who you are. People who take small, consistent actions every day build stronger habits, achieve more sustainable results, and are significantly more likely to reach long-term success than those who rely on short bursts of intense effort. There's a common belief that success comes from moments of extreme effort, from pushing harder than everyone else for short periods of time, from doing everything at once and expecting immediate transformation. It feels powerful in the moment, that surge of energy, that burst of motivation, that decision to go all in. But intensity fades, it always does. And when it fades, most people stop, not because they lack potential, but because they built their progress on something unstable. Consistency works differently. It does not rely on how you feel today or how motivated you are in a given moment. It is built on repetition, on showing up again and again. Even when the effort feels small, even when the progress seems invisible, it is quiet, often unnoticed, but incredibly powerful over time. While intensity burns fast and disappears, consistency builds slowly and lasts. When you choose consistency, you remove the pressure to be perfect. You no longer need to have the perfect plan or the perfect conditions. You just need to take the next step. This mindset shifts your focus from dramatic results to daily actions. It teaches you that success is not created in one defining moment, but in hundreds of small decisions that align with your goals. The real challenge is not starting strong, it is continuing when the excitement is gone. Anyone can be intense for a day or a week. Very few can stay consistent for months or years. That is where the difference is made. Consistency requires patience, and patience is uncomfortable because it delays gratification. It asks you to trust the process even when you cannot yet see the outcome. It asks you to believe that small efforts repeated over time will eventually compound into something meaningful. There is also a deeper psychological shift that happens when you embrace consistency. You begin to build identity rather than chase results. Instead of saying you want to achieve something, you start acting like the kind of person who naturally does it. You are not forcing yourself into extreme effort, you are becoming someone who shows up daily. And that identity is far more powerful than any temporary motivation. Intensity often leads to burnout. It creates unrealistic expectations and unsustainable habits. When you push too hard for a short period, you drain your energy. And when that energy runs out, you fall back even further than where you started. Consistency avoids this cycle. It respects your limits while still pushing you forward. It creates a rhythm, a pace that you can maintain, a system that supports long-term growth. Every small action you repeat strengthens a neural pathway, reinforces a habit, and moves you slightly closer to your goal. These changes may feel insignificant in the moment, but they accumulate. They build on each other. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes automatic. What once required effort becomes part of your routine. This is the compound effect of consistency, where small inputs lead to exponential outcomes. The truth is, you do not need to do more, you need to do it more often. You do not need to be perfect, you need to be persistent. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not closed by intensity, it is closed by consistency. It is closed by the decision to show up today, and then tomorrow, and then the day after that, regardless of how you feel. Consistency transforms effort into progress, actions into habits, and habits into results. It removes the unpredictability of motivation and replaces it with a reliable system. And once you build that system, you no longer depend on bursts of energy to move forward because your progress is no longer based on intensity. It is built on the strength of showing up again and again until it becomes who you are. People who intentionally plan and control their time, consistently achieve more meaningful results, experience less stress, and maintain higher levels of focus compared to those who react to their day without structure. Time is the one resource you cannot pause, rewind, or replace, yet most people treat it as if it will always be available later. They drift through their days reacting to notifications, interruptions, and other people's priorities, believing they are busy while slowly losing control of what truly matters. Taking ownership of your time is not about doing more, it is about deciding what deserves your attention and having the discipline to protect it. When you do not take control of your time, something else will. The world is full of distractions designed to capture your focus, and if you are not intentional, your day becomes a series of reactions instead of purposeful actions. You start your day without clarity, and before you realize it, hours have passed with little progress toward your goals. This is not a lack of ability, it is a lack of direction. Ownership begins with awareness. You have to see where your time is actually going, not where you think it is going. Small distractions add up. Moments of delay stretch into hours, and tasks that seem urgent push aside what is truly important. When you become aware of these patterns, you begin to understand that time is not lost suddenly. It is lost gradually through choices that feel insignificant in the moment. Once you gain that awareness, the next step is intention. You decide in advance how your time will be spent instead of leaving it open to chance. This does not mean every minute is rigidly controlled. It means your priorities are clear. You know what matters most, and you make space for it before anything else can take its place. This simple shift changes everything because it moves you from reacting to leading your own life. Taking ownership of your time also means learning to say no. Not every opportunity is aligned with your goals, not every request deserves your attention, and not every distraction is worth your energy. Saying no is not about rejecting others, it is about respecting yourself. It is about understanding that every yes carries a cost, and that cost is your time. When you protect your time, you protect your future. There is a level of discipline required to follow through on your intentions. It is easy to plan, but it is harder to execute when distractions appear or when the work feels uncomfortable. This is where self-management becomes real. You choose to stay focused even when it is easier to drift. You choose to complete what you started even when your mind looks for an escape. These decisions, repeated daily, create a sense of control that most people never experience. Time ownership is also deeply connected to responsibility. When you take control of your time, you stop blaming circumstances for your lack of progress. You stop saying you do not have enough time and start recognizing that time is being used in ways that do not serve you. This shift is powerful because it puts the control back in your hands. It reminds you that while you cannot control everything, you can control how you spend your time within those circumstances. As you begin to manage your time with intention, something changes internally. You feel more focused, more grounded, and more in control. You are no longer overwhelmed by everything you could do because you are clear on what you should do. This clarity reduces stress and increases confidence because you are no longer guessing your way through the day. Taking ownership of your time is not about perfection, it is about alignment. It is about making sure your actions reflect your priorities and your priorities reflect your purpose. When those things align, progress becomes inevitable. Not because you are doing more, but because you are doing what matters most again and again. Turning time into a tool that works for you instead of against you. Individuals who consistently step outside their comfort zones develop stronger resilience, higher confidence, and greater long-term success compared to those who avoid discomfort and stay within familiar patterns. Discomfort is often seen as something to avoid, something that signals danger or failure, something that should be minimized whenever possible. Most people spend their lives trying to stay within the boundaries of what feels safe and familiar, believing that comfort is the goal. But comfort is not where growth happens. Comfort is where things stay the same. The moment you choose comfort over challenge, you choose stagnation over progress, and over time that decision shapes the direction of your life. Growth begins the moment you step into uncertainty, the moment you face something that stretches your abilities and tests your limits. It does not feel easy, and it is not supposed to. Discomfort is the signal that you are doing something new, something that requires effort, something that has the potential to change you. Instead of seeing it as a barrier, you begin to recognize it as a pathway. Every time you feel resistance, every time you doubt yourself, every time you want to step back, you are standing at the edge of growth. The challenge is that discomfort triggers the instinct to retreat. Your mind looks for reasons to stop, to delay, to return to what feels known and predictable. It tells you that you are not ready, that the risk is too high, that the effort is not worth it. These thoughts feel convincing because they are designed to protect you, but they also keep you from evolving. Embracing discomfort means learning to move forward despite that internal resistance, not because it disappears, but because you no longer allow it to control your decisions. When you begin to lean into discomfort, you start building resilience. Each time you face something difficult and continue anyway, you strengthen your ability to handle challenges. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once felt impossible becomes achievable. This shift does not happen instantly, it happens gradually, through repeated exposure to situations that push you beyond your current limits. Over time, your capacity expands and your confidence grows, not because things become easier, but because you become stronger. Discomfort also forces you to confront your limitations. It reveals where you need to improve, where your fears exist, and where your mindset needs to change. Without discomfort, these areas remain hidden, and growth remains limited. By stepping into challenging situations, you gain clarity about yourself. You begin to understand what you are capable of, and more importantly, what you are capable of becoming. There is a difference between pain that damages you and discomfort that develops you. Growth-focused discomfort is temporary, it has purpose, and it leads to progress. It is the effort you put into learning a new skill, the courage it takes to take responsibility, the discipline required to stay consistent when you would rather quit. This kind of discomfort is not something to fear, it is something to seek because it carries the potential for transformation. Avoiding discomfort may feel good in the moment, but it comes with a long-term cost. It limits your experiences, reduces your opportunities, and keeps you from reaching your full potential. On the other hand, embracing discomfort expands your possibilities. It opens doors you would never have seen otherwise. It allows you to grow in ways that comfort never could. As you continue to face discomfort, your perspective begins to change. You no longer see challenges as threats, but as opportunities. You begin to welcome situations that test you because you understand that they are shaping you. This mindset creates a powerful shift in how you approach life. Instead of avoiding difficulty, you move toward it with intention, knowing that every challenge carries a lesson and every struggle carries growth. The more you embrace discomfort, the more you redefine your limits. What once felt uncomfortable becomes your new normal, and new challenges take its place. This continuous cycle of pushing forward, adapting, and growing is what leads to real transformation. It is not a single moment of change, but a consistent willingness to face what is difficult and keep moving forward, building strength, confidence, and capability. With every step, individuals who regularly reflect on their actions and adjust their approach are far more likely to improve performance, make better decisions, and achieve continuous growth compared to those who repeat the same patterns without evaluation. Progress is not just about action, it is about awareness. Many people stay busy, constantly moving from one task to another, believing that effort alone will lead to success. But without reflection, effort can become repetition, and repetition without improvement leads to stagnation. Reflecting on your actions allows you to see clearly what is working and what is not, giving you the power to change direction instead of staying stuck in ineffective patterns. Reflection creates space between action and reaction. It allows you to step back from the noise of daily activity and examine your choices with honesty. This is where real growth begins, not in the doing, but in the understanding of what your actions are producing. When you take the time to evaluate your progress, you gain insight into your habits, your decisions, and your mindset. You begin to notice patterns that were previously invisible, patterns that either move you forward or hold you back. Adjustment is the next step, and it requires humility. It means accepting that not everything you do will work, that mistakes are part of the process, and that change is necessary for improvement. Many people resist adjustment because it challenges their comfort and their ego. They would rather continue on a familiar path than admit that a different approach is needed. But growth demands flexibility. It demands the willingness to shift your strategy, refine your habits, and let go of what no longer serves you. When you adjust, you take control of your direction. Instead of hoping things will improve on their own, you actively shape your path. You test new approaches, you experiment with better methods, and you refine your process over time. This is how progress becomes intentional rather than accidental. Every adjustment, no matter how small, moves you closer to a more effective version of yourself. Evolution is what happens when reflection and adjustment become a continuous cycle. It is not a one-time change, it is an ongoing process of becoming. Each time you reflect, you gain new awareness. Each time you adjust, you improve your approach. And over time, these small changes compound into significant transformation. You do not suddenly become different. You gradually evolve through consistent effort and intentional change. This process requires patience because the results are not always immediate. Reflection may reveal uncomfortable truths, adjustment may feel uncertain, and evolution may seem slow. But this is where real development takes place. It is not in quick wins or temporary success. It is in the steady refinement of your actions and mindset over time. This is what creates lasting growth. Without reflection, you repeat mistakes. Without adjustment, you stay limited. Without evolution, you remain the same. But when you commit to this cycle, you create a powerful system for continuous improvement. You no longer fear failure because you understand that every outcome provides information. You no longer feel stuck because you know you can change your approach. You no longer rely on luck because your progress is guided by awareness and intention. The ability to reflect, adjust, and evolve is what separates those who grow from those who stay the same. It is the difference between reacting to life and actively shaping it. It is the difference between temporary effort and long-term transformation. Every moment of reflection gives you clarity, every adjustment gives you direction, and every step of evolution moves you closer to the person you are capable of becoming. Growth is not a straight path, it is a continuous loop of learning, refining, and improving. The more you engage in this process, the more adaptable, resilient, and effective you become. You begin to trust yourself not because you always get it right, but because you know you can learn, adjust, and move forward no matter what challenges you face.